the mass and everything in it got going.
Well, now, wouldn't you have to have the frequency of the vacuum?
No, the vacuum has every frequency in it you can name.
Yeah, but the frequency of the mass that's created within the vacuum itself.
Are you talking about the virtual mass?
Yes.
Virtual particles?
Yes.
Well, there are virtual photons, virtual particles, and virtual everything else.
Well, we have each one has its own frequency.
Hey, gentlemen, I have a virtual frequency that I've got to do right now. if you don't mind, I'm Bill Jenkins. It's Open Mind. Mark, and we'll take a break. Dave, I want you to wrap up your questions to Tom real fast because we're running short of time. But I
Bill,
want you to.
Let me finish the answer to that last question. I didn't finish it. Dave, I think what you're asking is correct in this fashion. Scalar-wise, I regard the mass per se, any kind of mass, as a standing scalar wave, a standing wave in vacuum that's locked in, trapped by the spin of a particle, for example.
That's true, but it still has to have the physical mass.
That's correct. The mass itself is the standing wave. The inertia and all that's due to that. Now, in the sense that you give a structure to that mass, for example, if it's a proton, and I consider it to be made of partons and so forth, then it's a complex of trapped scalar resonances.
That's right, but now you have to figure the vector of the mass to arrive at the frequency.
30 seconds, guys.
No, it's the other way around. We figure the mass from the fact of the amplitude of that complex or that single standing wave. And in fact, we can decrease the mass and inertia, or we can increase it by increasing the scalar resonance.
That's absolutely right. All right, listen, guys, I know, Dave, we haven't quite got your question answered here. Well, we're going to take a little break. If you want to hang on the phone, it's perfectly all right with me, okay?
All right, I'll stick around.
All right, stick around.
All right.
Radionics devices, bioenergetics devices, things that are going to change your world and mine. And let's continue on with, I believe, Dave, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right, Dave, let's finish this matter about mass and vacuum that you and Tom were talking about.
Are you there, Tom?
Yes.
All right, now, maybe I was a little bit wrong in what I said. What I was trying to get over is that the mass in molecular physics requires a frequency and the vector to create the vacuum. Now, without the vacuum, the molecular physics wouldn't hold true. Due to the fact that molecular structure would disintegrate.
Well, that's certainly true that without the vacuum you wouldn't have a physical universe at all because everything's made of vacuum, matter, everything else.
That's what I'm trying to explain.
Exactly right.
Right. All right. Now, one thing I don't understand, how to do away with the vacuum.
You can't do away with it. The vacuum is at a very high stress level.
Yes, I know it is.
And what you can do is change or pattern that stress. You can make the direction in which you oscillate waves of stress up and down, just like a sound wave in the ocean or something.
That's right.
And you can make directional patterns and so forth. But you see, given the ability to do that, we've done what is called polarizing the vacuum. And if you can do that, you can do some rather magnificent things.
Yeah, but if we could break down the molecular structure, the vacuum cease to exist.
So far as I know, I don't. With what we're talking about, the electromagnetics, we certainly don't have the power to do that. The kinds of things they're talking about when they say the vacuum reached this super excited state and then decayed, exploded, and so forth to create the universe as we know it. And that kind of a theory, the kinds of energies and the kinds of things they're talking about are so far beyond the kinds of energies we're using that, we're not in that ballgame at all. So I really don't know how to answer that.
Yeah, well, I was working on that type of a theory and trying to work out. I misplaced a lot of my papers, and I don't know where they are. I haven't found them. But I had worked this idea out into a feasible equation, and I misplaced my papers, and I can't remember the exact theory now.
Well, there you are.
Okay.
All I can say is more and more of the vacuum in modern physics is assuming ever more importance every day. That's certainly true.
That's very true.
All right, does that help you, Dave?
Yeah, it does a lot, Tom, and Bill, and I thank you very much, and I thank you, Tom, and I thank you, John.
Well, thank you, Dave, for tuning in.
Sure thing. Bye-bye.
Glad to have you aboard.
Okay.
We're getting some good questions here tonight, guys, and let's see what Edson has on his mind.
Good evening, everybody.
How are you?
How are you? First, a couple of comments about Tesla. As you know, I'm always writing about Tesla. First, that the late Orson Welles' last movie was The Secret of Nikola Tesla, but that's hardly mentioned in the tributes to that great personality.
The movie did not get seen by too many people.
No, and it's kind of hard to even find a copy that's still in America.
It did not say good things about J.P. Morgan and Wall Street.
No, not at all.
I've watched the movie 100 times.
Well, maybe they'll bring it back and show it in some art theater in L.A. I hope they do. Also, if any of your listeners know anything about the Tesla Pierce Arrow car that's supposed to operate on free energy.
It's here in Southern California somewhere, but we can't find it.
Yeah, well, perhaps somebody can contact you, and then we can get in touch with you, because Nick Basura, as you know, he's a great Tesla fan, and I are trying to track down what happened to this Pierce Arrow. Still around someplace. Now, I worked for several years with the late Dr. Albert Roy Davis, and he wrote a book, Magnetism and Its Effects on the Living System. And one of the chapters in this book has to do with the gravitational effect, that is, magnetic effect on weight, gravitational weight. And I wonder if this has to do with your generator, if it loses some weight in the magnetic field.
Yes, it does.
Could you give the Gauss strength of the magnets that you use?
It's samarium cobalt, and I'm not quite sure on the Gauss of this magnet, but I will tell you the physical size. It's a ½ inch in diameter by a little bit less than a ¼ inch. It's running these machines.
I see. Is there a moon tidal effect on your generator?
Yes, there is, and I was going to mention that, and that's a very good question, because when the full moon comes out, the pendulum does pick up, the same way as the ocean bulges.
Well, we got that this evening. How about the figure 8 effect of the electrons? Lissajous electronic display, is that involved with the generator?
You can do it that way, and you will find out that it's not quite a figure 8.
What if you took, I understand this is operating, is it counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere?
It seems that all the energy machines want to run, yes, counterclockwise in this hemisphere.
What if you took this to the magnetic equator of the Earth? Would there be a loss of power? Or?
I haven't been able to do that kind of testing, because I'm very limited right at this moment.
We suspect it would run in either direction on the true equator. In January, I'm going to go down to Fiji. We'll stop on the equator.
But we can engineer the systems to run either direction in this hemisphere.
Now, I have a question for Colonel Bearden. I talked to Dr. Jastrow last night on Ray Bream's show, and it was about Star Wars, particle beams, and so on. Now, Dr. Jastrow says that the Russians are planning to use MHD, magnetohydrodynamic generators, to power these particle beam weapons that actually Tesla invented way back in the 30s. And I remember that Colonel Bearden said something about the use of this death ray of Tesla's in Afghanistan. Perhaps you can comment on that again. And could you gentlemen give us an address to write to Bedini Electronics, is it, and Colonel Bearden?
I'll give you the address right now. Have you got a pencil and paper?
Yeah.
Okay, if you want information on this particular generator or any of the books that pertain to this, there's two places to get them. One is the Tesla Book Company at 1580 Magnolia Boulevard in Melbray, California. I don't know the zip right offhand. And the other
94030.
94030.
Okay.
And the other is Bedini Electronics, P.O. Box 769, San Fernando, California, 91341.
341. Okay.
I always get the two numbers mixed up between Sylmar and San Fernando.
Yeah. So does Colonel Bearden know about the death ray, any more about the death ray being used?
A little bit. Let me give you an address, since you wanted that too. My address is Post Office Box 1472, Huntsville, Alabama 35807. As far as the death ray that they're using, if you have a very powerful scalar beam and you hit the human nervous system with it, the nervous system is highly nonlinear. It's not built